I'm Mikey Evans, and this is the Oakland Normal News for February 15th, 2007. Research supports medicinal marijuana. AIDS patients in controlled study has significant pain relief. By Rick Weiss, Washington Post staff writer, February 13th. AIDS patients suffering from debilitating nerve pain got as much or more relief by smoking marijuana as they would have typically got from prescription drugs, with fewer side effects, according to a study conducted under rigorously controlled conditions with government-grown pot. In a 5-day study performed in a specially ventilated hospital ward where patients smoked 3 marijuana cigarettes a day, more than half the participants tallied significant reductions in pain. By contrast, less than 1/4 of those who had smoked the placebo pot, which had its primary psychoactive ingredients removed, reported benefits, as measured by subjective pain reports and standardized neurological tests. The White House belittled the study as a smokescreen, short on proof of efficacy, and flawed because it did not consider the health impacts of inhaling smoke. But other doctors and advocates of marijuana policy reform said the findings in today's issue of the journal Neurology offer powerful evidence that the Drug Enforcement Administration's classification of cannabis as having no currently accepted medical use is outdated. This should be a wake-up call for Congress to hold hearings to investigate the therapeutic use of cannabis and to encourage more research, said Barbara T. Roberts, a former interim associate deputy director in the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, now with Americans for Safe Access, which promotes access to marijuana for therapies and research. Countless anecdotal reports have suggested that smoking marijuana can help relieve the pain, nausea, and muscular spasticity that often accompany cancer, AIDS, multiple sclerosis, and other ailments. But few well-controlled studies have been conducted. The new study enrolled 50 AIDS patients with severe foot pain caused by their disease or by the medicines they take. The team first measured baseline pain, both subjectively, patients rate their pain on a scale of 1 to 100, and with 2 standardized tests, one involving a small hot iron held to the skin and another involving hot chili pepper cream. Then, for 5 days, patients lit up at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m., using a calibrated puff method that calls for inhaling for 5 seconds, holding one's breath for 10, and then waiting 45 seconds before the next. The cigarettes were kept frozen and locked in a safe, then thawed and humidified 1 day before use. Cigarette butts and other debris were collected, weighed, and returned to the safe to ensure no diversion for recreational purposes. Grown on the government's official pot farm in Mississippi, the drug was about 1/4 of the potential of potency of quality street marijuana. The inactive version was chemically cleansed of cannabinoids, the drug's main active ingredients. It smelled like and looked like normal marijuana, said study leader Donald I. Abrams, a physician at San Francisco General Hospital, where the smoking ward was located. Like the patients, Abrams was not told who had the active pot until the study was over. 13 of the 25 patients who smoked the regular marijuana achieved pain reduction by at least 30%, compared with 6 of the 25 who smoked placebo pot. The average pain reduction for the real cannabis was 34%, compared with 17% for the placebo. Opioids and other pills can reduce nerve pain by 20 to 30%, but can cause drowsiness and confusion, Abrams said. And many patients complain that a prescription version of pot's main ingredient in pill form does not work for them. That was true for Diana Dodson, 50, who received an AIDS diagnosis in 1997 after a blood transfusion. "I have so many layers of pain, I can hardly walk," said Dodson, who was in the new study. "Prescription drugs made her feel worse, but inhaled cannabis works," she said. Patients in the study, all of whom had smoked pot previously, reported no notable side effects, though the researchers acknowledged that people unfamiliar with the drug may not fare as well. Igor Grant, director of the University of California Center for the Medicinal Cannabis Research, which funded the research, said that the study was probably the best designed U.S. test of marijuana's medical potential in decades. He called the results highly believable. But David Murray, chief scientist at the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, called the study findings not particularly persuasive. The study was relatively small, he said, and it is likely that those who received the real pot were aware of that, introducing a bias of expected efficacy. We're very much supportive of any effort to ameliorate the suffering of AIDS patients, Murray said. But even if ingredients in a marijuana prove useful, he added, they ought to be synthesized in a pill to make dosing more accurate and to minimize lung damage. Separately, ending a 6-year effort, a Massachusetts group learned yesterday that it had won a legal victory against the DEA in its battle for federal permission to grow its own cannabis for federally approved studies, instead of relying on government pot. In an 87-page opinion, Administrative Law Judge Mary Ellen Bittner ruled that it would be in the public interest to allow a University of Massachusetts study to cultivate marijuana under contract to the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, MAPS, which sponsors medical research on marijuana and other drugs. The DEA is not obligated to follow the advice of its law judges, but the detailed decision it makes should make it difficult for the agency to balk, said MAPS President Rick Doblin. North Dakota legislator close to breaking barrier to hemp. McClatchy Newspapers, Bill and Gazette, Bismarck, North Dakota. North Dakota State Rep. David Monson's phone has been ringing off the hook lately, and he says his computer is swamped with emails. It is the middle of the busy legislative session, but it's Monson's role in a national issue that is attracting so much attention. He's closer than anyone else in the region to actually growing a commercial industrial hemp crop. Monson has completed all of the necessary paperwork for his state-issued license. I filled in fingerprinting, and it was kind of fun doing the GPS positioning for the field, he says. I've never done that before, so it was kind of interesting. Monson said his son is also filling out state forms, so he can help with the hemp production. Although Monson quickly completed all of the steps necessary for state license, he is in a holding pattern for the moment, waiting to see what the Drug Enforcement Agency will decide on an application fee issue. More than a month ago, North Dakota Agricultural Commissioner Roger Johnson asked the federal agency to waive a $2,300 non-refundable application fee, a major economic hurdle for potential producers, with no guarantee that the agency will allow anyone to grow hemp. We've had several telephone conversations encouraging the DEA to make a decision, Johnson says. We know it's on the administrator's desk right now, but they are still considering it. We've made the case that we think it's exorbitant for the DEA to charge this fee when the state of North Dakota is doing all the work, but it is their decision. Monson says if the DEA takes too long to decide on the fee waiver, he may have to gamble and send in his check. Meanwhile, Johnson says plenty of North Dakotans seem interested in following Monson's lead. We've received several applications, and as a few days ago, we had received almost 20 requests for information, so we know there are people who are interested, he says. The application forms can be downloaded from the State Ag Department website, making it difficult to know how many farmers have taken that first step. We're telling farmers who are interested in this to go through the North Dakotan process first, to sort of move it along as far as possible, Johnson says. Get your fingerprinting and background check done. Give us the geopositioning location, and we'll issue the license. Then you can make your decision. Do you want to apply to the DEA and make that $2,300 non-refundable fee? Johnson will be in Washington later this week for the Midwinter National Association of State Departments of Agriculture meeting, and he plans to meet with DEA officials in person. I rather suspect some of my counterparts will want to come along to that meeting, as they did last year, he predicts. Johnson says about a dozen states have industrial hemp laws in place, but no other state actually has made it possible for growers to obtain a state-issued license as North Dakota has. Although Monson has yet to send out his DEA application, he's already thinking about how to work his 10-acre farm in Osnabrück area. He's planning to do routine field preparation. I'm thinking I'll probably use the regular amount of fertilizer I'd use for, say, wheat. He speculates. Preparing the soil shouldn't require any special machinery. I don't think it will be very different from what I'd use for canola. Although he hasn't found a seed source yet, Monson says he already knows of people interested in purchasing seed from his first crop. As for the bulkier leafy stalks, he expects to find a researcher who can use it to study hemp fiber processing. I know when you go through the processing, you have to make sure it goes to a licensed processor, and we do have provisions to get that taken care of, he says. Monson also is aware that harvesting hemp can be complicated, often requiring sturdier, more powerful machinery because of the crop's tough fibers. He expects to either hire a custom combiner or borrow machinery from someone in the area. As one of the front runners in the race to grow industrial hemp in the U.S., Monson has taken his share of criticism from anti-hemp groups. In response, he turns the tables on those who claim that industrial hemp will lead to widespread marijuana production. I tell them, by trying to stop us, you're promoting drug use in the U.S., Monson declares. The amount of pollen our industrial hemp fields produce would destroy the high-potency marijuana. You can pretty much drive it right out of here. Over the long haul, by neutralizing the THC with cross-pollination, you could almost put them out of business, he states. Mexico's president promises no respite in moron drug gangs. By Jan Grillo, the Associated Press, published February 11, 2007. Mexico City, Mexican President Felipe Calderon said there will be no truce or quarter in his war on drug gangs after the killing of 7 law enforcement officials in an apparent attempt to intimidate the federal government. Flanked by the commanders of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, Calderon told troops at a military base on Saturday that the government will not be strong-armed by organized crime. We're not going to surrender, neither from provocation nor attacks on the safety of Mexicans, Calderon said. We will never give truce or quarter to the enemies of Mexico. Tuesday morning, more than a dozen armed men killed 5 agents and 2 secretaries in simultaneous attacks on 2 offices of the state attorney general in Acapulco. The attackers were dressed in military uniforms and pretended to be conducting a weapons check, asking the agents to hand over their rifles before opening fire. The police later found a note in a van thought to be used in the attack with a defiant message, "We could give a damn about the federal government, and this is proof," an apparent reference to the shootings. The vehicle was parked outside a house packed with automatic rifles and military uniforms. Calderon, a career politician in the Conservative National Action Party, narrowly won election last year on promises to smash drug gangs blamed for killing more than 2,000 people in 2006, many in execution-style killings and gruesome beheadings. Since taking power in December, the president has sent more than 24,000 soldiers and federal police to areas ravaged by drug violence, including 7,000 to Acapulco's police state of Guerrero. He has also extradited 4 accused drug kingpins to the United States, where they could be given life sentences in high-security prisons. I instruct you to persevere until victory is achieved, he told the troops Saturday. New pages of glory will be written. Calderon's position has won him praise from Washington, with U.S. Drug Enforcement and Administration Chief Karen Tandy describing his initiative as an enormous leap forward. The country's drug gangs are thought to earn more than $10 billion a year, smuggling Mexican-made heroin, marijuana, and amphetamines and Colombian cocaine into the United States. Lawmakers from Mexico's opposition Democratic Revolution Party helped draft a bill to legalize possession of small amounts of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana, which Mexico's Congress approved last year. However, former President Vicente Fox refused to sign the bill after an outcry from U.S. officials. Mexico is now embroiled in a full-fledged civil war, thanks to the insatiable appetite for personal use drugs in the United States. We need to legalize, we need to regulate, we need to control to save the world. The USA has less than 5% of the world's total population, yet we have almost 25% of the world's total prison population. Nothing will change until the cannabis community stands up and demands equal rights, until you stand up for yourself. This is Mikey Evans, Oakland NORML News, Oakland County, Michigan. Let's change the world. My shirt today was brought to me by www.norml.org. It's a national organization for the reform of marijuana laws. It's my parent organization for the Oakland County NORML chapter. Thank you and good night.